next day, Xilian and Huacheng began their journey. Huacheng was holding Xilian's hand and spoke up. "Gege, the next time you see Junwu, don't talk to him. Turn around and run away." Xilian was puzzled. "Why?" he asked. "I just know that every time he comes looking for you, it's never for anything good," Huacheng said. Xilian laughed and said, "What do you mean? The work he originally assigned me wasn't this." However, Huacheng said, "It's the same thing. Whether it's going to Mount Tong'lu or helping him manage the heavens, neither are good assignments. The upper court is in complete shambles now. Might as well let it break up. Throwing that pile of mud on your lap, what's up with that? It's no different than choosing between a sword and a knife to commit suicide." Xilian couldn't help but laugh, but after laughing, he said soberly, "Still, I didn't think that you would volunteer to accompany me to Mount Tong'lu. I've been thinking for a while, and I feel this should still be said. Sunlang, absolutely don't force yourself." He kept feeling that Huacheng had only volunteered to come because he knew what Xilian was thinking. After all, Xilian really felt like, rather than managing the heavens and doing what he wasn't good at, it would be much more gratifying to get locked up in a kiln and kill to his heart's content. However, Huacheng said, "Gege, I've already sworn 3 times I'm not forcing myself. Do you not believe me?" "Of course, it's not that," Xilian said. Huacheng nodded. "Then just relax, Gege. I know my limits. Don't feel like you owe me anything. Even looking at it completely from my own position, I wouldn't mind stuffing the new Ghost King back in before it's born, either." As it was now, the present Ghost Kings and the heavens all mutually benefited. There was only so much rice, and everyone wanted a bite. There was already not enough to go around, and there was friction at times. To add another one into the mix, to share the pot, no one was willing. Besides, if this new one had an extreme character, then if they went mad, no one would have anything left to eat. After Junwu listened to Huacheng's suggestion, he considered it seriously. If Xilian was to go alone, it certainly wouldn't be as adequate as if he went himself. But if it was Xilian with the Demon King who had once journeyed through Mount Tong'lu himself, then this combination would certainly have more odds in their favor. Of course, Huacheng wouldn't be going for nothing. Junwu agreed to his terms. Until the next time Mount Tong'lu reopened, all of heaven must detour around the ghost city. Also, the entire court must announce the heroic deeds of Crimson Rain Swordflower and sing songs of praise for an entire year. Xilian tried to imagine it, and it was probably something to the effect of, "You bunch of foolish heavenly officials, do you know who saved you?" This was practically tormenting the heavenly officials, who were already wary of Huacheng and bore complicated feelings toward him, and stepping on their faces. Huacheng smiled and said, "With me around, this journey will be much easier for you." Pulling himself back, Xilian replied, "I still think that we should go after your period of aggravation is over, after you've returned to your normal self." "You don't need to worry about that either. It'll be soon," Huacheng said. Xilian was taken aback. "Huh?" he asked. "What is it? Gege, what's that face?" Huacheng questioned. Xilian said dejectedly, "Does that mean Sunlang's gonna grow up?" Huacheng clenched his fists by his sides. He said, "I've enjoyed this for too long. I can't wait anymore." Yet, unexpectedly, just as he finished talking, Xilian lifted him up. He raised him high into the air with his arms and laughed. "It'll be such a shame," he said. "I won't be able to lift you up any more after you grow up, so I best hug you as much as I can now." He laughed again. On the way to Mount Tong'lu, they weren't able to use the distance-shortening array and could only walk. Over 10 days later, the two finally left towns and signs of life far behind them and entered a mountainous area with endless fields of lush green forests. The deeper they entered the woods, the more monsters and demons they saw on the road, the bands of them growing bigger and thicker, their shapes and forms bizarre, sneaking and hurrying. Xilin walked with Huachang in hand and whispered, "So many have come." The gathering this time certainly is bigger than before. It's because the heavens didn't put up a barricade. So many who weren't planning to come wound up doing so, Huachang said. However, there weren't only lone ghosts. There were many that came in groups. After a while, Xilin and Huachang ran into a large group of ragged and disheveled ghosts. Their faces savage, they were marching in a parade, chanting, "The world be a kiln, the souls be copper. Waters deep and fires burn, adversities buried within. The world be a kiln, the souls be copper. Waters deep and fires burn, adversities buried within." Listening to their hollering, not only did they not sound afraid, they sounded eager. But hearing their chant, Huachang's expression grew frigid. They don't even understand what they're saying, but they definitely shout louder than anybody. Thinking of it, many of these monsters and demons had never experienced this trial before and didn't understand the cruelty of it, taking the becoming of a supreme as something easily achievable. All of them were filled with heroic determination, bringing displeasure to the one who was experienced. "Can they also come banded in groups?" Xilin asked. "Those are typically the ones who knew each other already and planned to charge the mountain together, swearing to show mercy for each other," Huachang explained. "However, none of those promises will be kept. Fighting to the end, the more killed, the stronger you get, and the more you save, the less chance you have to survive. The easiest target is often the ones closest to you." Then he knit his brow slightly, covering his right eye, seeming to have another headache coming on. Xilin quickly grabbed him and hid behind the trees on the side. He crouched down, feeling concerned. "Sanang, we're about to enter the mountain. Are you sure you'll be all right?" he asked. Easing his brows, Huachang replied, "Don't worry, Gogo. Everything's fine. It'll be better soon." How could Xilin not be worried simply because he said so? Huachang then added, "Gogo, come closer. I have something to tell you." Xilin didn't know what he was planning, so he drew his face closer. Huachang cupped his face with his hands and lightly touched his forehead with his own. Xilin blinked and was stunned. He waited until Huachang released him before he started. "Sanang, what are you?" Huachang smiled. "Done," he said. "It's all ghosts and demons here. Gogo is a heavenly official, so your scent would be very conspicuous. This will help cover it a little." So that's what it was. He was staining Xilin with his scent. Xilin couldn't help but remember how the two exchanged spiritual powers and air between them. He was afraid Huachang would be reminded too. He quickly said, "All right, let's put on a disguise." In order to blend in with millions of ghosts, naturally, they must go in disguise. However, it wasn't anything more than draping on a cloak. There were already plenty of ghosts and monsters who had also donned masks and cloaks, so it wasn't odd. The two dressed simply, and Xilian held Hua Chang's hand as they continued slowly on their way. After a while, there was a faint noise of a commotion ahead on the road. Unsure of what was happening, Xilian asked, "Is there anything like a landmark that tells you when you've entered Mount Tong'lu?" "There is," Hua Chang answered, "but don't trust it." Xilian was about to continue his questions, but the commotion ahead of them was growing louder. When the two exited the forest, it turned out there was a large blackened crowd of at least 300 to 400 monsters and demons stuck before a steep bluff. However, this number was but the tip of the iceberg for the turnout of the gathering this time. The ghosts asked, "Why is the road blocked? Did we go the wrong way?" "That can't be. Didn't they say any road would lead to Mount Tong'lu?" Perhaps it was because they weren't yet within the boundaries of Mount Tong'lu, and the slaughtering hadn't officially begun, but the crowd of ghosts was still mostly peaceful. Xilian found a random ghost on the side and asked casually, "What's going on over there?" That ghost yelled, "You ain't got eyes to see for yourself? There's a mountain in the way. We can't get through." Xilian took a look at this ghost next to him. Half of its head was sliced off, and truly, it was the one that didn't have eyes to see. But Xilian wasn't going to say anything. He only said, "Can't we go around?" Just then, several ghosts rushed over from the other side, spitting their tongues. "The hell, this mountain is evil," they shouted. "We've run around for over an hour and still saw no end of it. I had to run over an hour to come back." The ghost turned to Xilian. "No," he responded. Then Xilian asked, "Can't we climb up or fly over?" But just as the words left his lips, a large 7-foot bird fell from the sky with a whoosh, crashing heavily onto the ground, and practically dropped dead on the spot. A ghost cried out, "Dead. The bird spirit died from exhaustion, and still it couldn't fly over." The ghost turned to Xilian again. "No," he responded. Xilian tried again. "Then can't we?" But before he could complete his question, the ghosts all shushed him like they wanted to seal his mouth shut. "Stop asking, you loudmouth," they shouted. "All right," Xilian said, and complied. Hundreds of ghosts and demons were blocked by this unpassable, unhikeable, uncrossable mountain bluff, and various voices of endless tones buzzed, exceedingly noisy. Some said, "I get it. It's not a typical mountain. It's a screen." Some said, "Everyone, after crossing this mountain, Mount Tong'lu must be right beyond. This mountain is probably the first trial before entering that mountain. If we can't even pass a simple test like this, then there's no need to even think about what would come after, and we might as well just go home." "Wait," someone shouted. "Wait what?" A puzzled voice spoke up. "Why do I smell something funny?" "What smell?" someone asked. "You sure it's not that human meat you got with you?" That voice said, No, it's not the flesh of the dead. It's the flesh of the living." No, that's not right either. It's rather like the smell of a heavenly official." The moment those words rolled out, a wave of alarm was raised, and the crowd of ghosts all cried, "What? You're shitting me. Why would there be a heavenly official?" "Ah, wait," someone shouted. I smell it too." "How come we don't smell anything here?" someone else asked. But someone shouted, "Now that you're all talking about it, it feels like it's here too. Did a heavenly official sneak in?" "That's impossible. What heavenly official is so audacious to come to a place like this?" With all the voices calling out, alarm exploded in all directions. Xilian was feeling some trepidation, but still, his face gave nothing away. Huacheng had helped him cover up his scent earlier, so why would there still be any scent? No one should have noticed that he snuck in. Huacheng held his hand and whispered, "Gogo, be careful. Something is stirring the pot and creating chaos on purpose." It's also possible that, other than me, there are other heavenly officials that have snuck in, Xilian said. Just then, the ghost that was the first to mention the smell of humans jumped onto a boulder and shouted, "Everyone, maybe those godforsaken heavenly officials in the heavenly realm saw that they couldn't stop us en route, so they sent forth people to come to Mount Tong'lu to ruin our celebration. I suggest that everyone wearing masks and cloaks or heavy layers strip them off for now, so whoever has a spiritual aura will be immediately discovered. Everyone, announce your titles one by one. Don't give them the chance to sneak in among us." The crowd of ghosts all applauded the idea, and the ghost continued, "I'll go first. I'm the demon of the swift, life-extinguishing blade, the decapitation blade of an executioner. There's only ever the one blade for killing and chopping off heads." In Xilian's experience, typically, the more exaggerated the title, with names like Unparalleled, Thousand Hands, Mighty, or Life-Extinguishing, and so on, the easier they were to wipe out, usually with just a single move. Sometimes 3 could be wiped out with a single move. Immediately, there were hundreds of titles being noisily thrown out, and he shook his head as he listened. Suddenly, a ghost next to him elbowed him. "Hey, why haven't you stripped off your cloak yet? What are you?" he asked. It wasn't like he meant it disrespectfully. If he wasn't human, then he could only be called a what, so that didn't seem wrong. In fact, there were plenty of other ghosts that didn't remove their cloaks and masks. There was even one close to Xilian, watching them with his arms crossed. But the one called out first was Xilian, and seeing that all eyes were on him, he accepted his own bad luck and took off the cloak, speaking gently. "I am a puppet master." The ghosts all approached and circled around. "I see," they said. "No wonder you look so much like a human. This is my first time seeing a puppet master." Xilian smiled without speaking. A puppet master was a ghost with a very weak essence of evil. In order to create the perfect puppet, they would experiment with all different kinds of materials, so it wasn't strange to have been stained with different kinds of scents. Since they particularly fancied the skins of humans, the scent of humans was usually heavy on their bodies. The dream of puppet masters was to pull out hair from a heavenly official to make wigs for their puppets, and some were even daring enough to try. Thus, it also wasn't strange if there was the scent of a heavenly official. A ghost asked, "Then where's your puppet?" Xilian scanned the crowd, then bent down to lift up Huacheng. The ghosts were all in awe. "Wow, so exquisite," they exclaimed. "What material did you use?" someone asked. "Tisk tisk, this looks so real." "Feels like you're going to be a tough competitor," one commented. "How is this real?" asked another. "I think it looks rather fake. Isn't the skin too white? Why would kids have such long lashes?" Although Huacheng had his arms crossed and was expressionless, there were still many female ghosts whose unmoving hearts were struck by his looks. "I'm dying. What a handsome puppet," they shouted. "Master, do you take commissions? Can I order one exactly the same? We can talk price." Some even tried to reach out to Pet, unable to stop themselves. Xilian immediately brought him back into his arms, and the ghosts were miffed. "So stingy," they shouted, "treasuring him so much, you won't even let us touch." Xilian's left arm held Huacheng even tighter, and his right hand brushed his hair. "Of course," he responded, "this is my puppet. Besides, he's got quite the temper. No one but me can touch him. Otherwise, he'll get very angry." Huacheng raised his brows while lying in Xilian's arms, and the ghosts all laughed out loud. "Ayo," they said. "He can even raise his brows. He's got attitude." Just then, there was suddenly a voice that spoke up. "I don't think that's it."